Thanks, Charlene. Abortion advocates say a Supreme Court ruling today will endanger women and abortion clinic workers. But a unanimous ruling by the nation's high court seemed to show the justices thought otherwise. CBN's Paul Strand was at the Supreme Court when the ruling was announced.
The Massachusetts bubble zone law allowed people to talk about anything but abortion and all choices surrounding the life of an unborn baby within 35 feet of an abortion clinic. All 9 justices struck the law down, saying it was way too much of a burden on free speech.
And what is in fact the case outside of most abortion clinics these days are people who are simply peacefully trying to provide information and praying outside abortion clinics.
Kristen Hawkins of Students for Life says this is a big victory for students who want to counsel other young women outside clinics not to get an abortion.
And these young people see turnarounds every time they go in front of the abortion facility because they're the same age as the girl walking in. And so she looks at them and says, why are you out here? Why are you giving up your Saturday to be here to help me? And it causes her to think, maybe there's something wrong with what I'm about to do.
The court said not only did Massachusetts bubble zone violate the rights of the sidewalk counselors, but also the women who might have heard a pro-life message from them and decided not to get an abortion.
This is a defense of free speech, a defense of religious liberty, and really a defense of women's informed consent, so that they have a right to know what abortion is about.
Even if you don't like the point of view in this country, we get to express it.
Reverend Rob Schenck was actually in the courtroom when the Chief Justice announced the ruling. Pro-choice forces say it means abortion clinic workers and their customers will face more danger and harassment from pro-lifers. Schenck says the Chief Justice and court dismissed that argument.
The other side tries to disparage these good people and make them out to be crazed maniacs that are violent and threatening. And in fact, the Supreme Court of the United States said nothing could be more false or less true.
Paul Strand, CBN News, the Supreme Court.
Joining us now for more is Jordan Sekulow of the American Center for Law and Justice. And Jordan, this is a unanimous ruling. How big a victory is this?
This is a big win, Mark, because this is the kind of the first time the court is starting to get rid of what we call the abortion distortion. The idea that those who are pro-life have a different First Amendment than those who support abortion. And in this case, for the court to unanimously come down and say this 35-foot fixed buffer zone around abortion clinics violates the First Amendment, not because of strict scrutiny being applied, but because of this is not narrowly tailored. You can't just say, well, because some places have had 10 or feet or 15 feet, that now we're going to have 35 feet. And again, this being this opinion coming today, I think for everyone in the pro-life movement, these are those incremental victories we have to move towards to getting the First Amendment to apply equally to both sides of the issue.
Justice Scalia had some harsh words from the court about its past rulings about abortion rights and free speech. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. We've actually argued one of those cases that came up in Hill versus Colorado, which was one of the first buffer zone cases where the court did say that some kind of buffer zone, some kind of non-free speech area was okay. Now, this is even on public sidewalks. What the court did today was not say that that's never constitutional when it comes to abortion clinics. What they said was that 35 feet and these arbitrary and huge zones of no speech are not constitutional. But again, they did not fully reverse past Supreme Court precedent that allowed for some bans of free speech zones. Of course, we disagree with that. There's one thing, there are laws in place. If people are trying to block entrance to an abortion clinic, they get arrested. Those laws are in place. So the idea that you just ban speech anywhere, we don't agree with. But this is an incremental victory. You gotta win victories like this to get back to the starting point where, again, the First Amendment should apply equally to everyone.
Jordan, let's talk about the impact of the Supreme Court's ruling on these other laws that you're talking about.
Sure. Well, you know what this will do? It will make states think twice before they start implementing restrictive rules that govern what kind of speech can take place around abortion clinics, and specifically banning all speech and only exempting the abortion clinics staff, and acting as if, that there's no laws already on the books to prevent crime. And when I say crime, listen, there are pro-life activities, civil disobedience, like blocking entrances to abortion clinics. Those people get arrested. If you harass someone, you get arrested. If you threaten someone, you get arrested. So this try to ban speech on public sidewalks. So we're not talking about private property here. We're talking about public sidewalks, traditional public forum. And so for Massachusetts, they came in, they said, we're going to make the most restrictive ban out there. And it was. And the Supreme Court today said that's unconstitutional.
Okay, Jordan Sekulow of the American Center for Law and Justice. Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks, Mark.